Hey everybody, it's quarantine time, and I'm hanging out, and I'm going to talk to my buddy Dave Schools in a couple minutes. Hey, you know what? I'm going to talk to Dave Schools right now. He's waving at me. Hold on. How do I invite you to join? Request video? Yes, I would love that. Are you on? I think he's got to accept.
Hey, all right.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in Virginia, and you're in California, correct?
Sonoma County.
Nice. How long have you lived in your current house?
12 years.
Nice. And where'd you live before that?
Athens, Georgia.
All right.
I almost said Richmond.
Well, you did. Technically, you did live in Richmond before you lived in California.
That's right. 25 years in Athens, Georgia, though.
Nice. That's a good run. I knew you right before you went there. We went to high school together.
Did we both go to collegiate for the full 13 years?
It sounds like you did. I did not. I joined in 7th grade.
Okay.
Okay.
I joined in kindergarten.
Okay. That's good. That's good. You had a special recognition in the yearbook or graduation or something, didn't you?
I don't know. I think it's more of an indelible stamp
All
on
right.
my psyche.
That's fine. Yeah, we're both proud Cougar alums. I sure do look pale in this light. This is bothering me. I'm going to put my cool Grateful Dead hat on. That's a little bit better.
There you go. Much better. I don't know why I'm so orange. I think it's the weird lighting.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Maybe it's California.
Right. It's probably a brush fire that's setting you aglow.
Yes.
Yeah, I won't joke about that.
Among many things we have to deal with out here.
Yeah. Well, you and I, as you mentioned, went to collegiate together, and I have very, very fond memories of my days at Cougar Town. Cougars being the mascot, and I think it's really cool that you went there, and then you became this rock star, and you look like a rock star. And most of the people at collegiate are, generally at least look conservative. You have to wear khakis. We weren't allowed to wear jeans, and you had to wear a collared shirt. And I would bet maybe you haven't worn khakis or a collared shirt since you graduated.
I don't mind a collared shirt every now and then. The one that gets me, and maybe you'll remember this, I'm sure you will, we had to wear ties, but only during the winter.
Oh, did we?
We did, and which led to amazing pushing of the envelope as far as almost rule breaking.
Right.
Incredibly gaudy, wide painted ties that satisfied the rules.
Yep.
Nothing looks better than a big wide painted tie with ducks on it, especially when you've threaded it through a pink alligator shirt.
Nice.
And people would be like, "Well, you're not breaking the rules." So,
yep, you did what they asked.
Yeah, it just struck me as dumb. It's like, you want to make us look nice? Let's look nice all year long.
Yeah. Or just look the way you want to look, which, I have done sort of since then. Actually, I went to college. I went to Washington and Lee, which is a very conservative school as well. And I wore khakis and shirts and ties up there. And I was actually on the run from my creative parents. I wanted to be normal the whole time. And then I figured out I wasn't really normal. So I moved out to Cali when I was 24 and pursued comedy. But you were always in bands. When was the first time you picked up an instrument? Were you 10 years old or what?
I got pictures of me sitting on my mom's lap plunking on the piano when I'm like a baby.
Okay.
And
all right.
They thought that it would be a good idea for me to take piano lessons, maybe 2nd grade.
Okay.
And I tried, but I hate regimentation and I hate learning rudiments.
Right.
So I kind of dropped out of that and didn't do much of anything except for listen to music.
Right.
Until I realized all of my friends were playing. And
what was that? Was that middle school, upper school?
Like 5th or 6th grade, yeah.
Okay.
Rob and Tom Crosby had a band with Mike Bland.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, God, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
And but my parents had just gotten divorced, and we were living in Kings Crossing apartments.
Right.
And I had always just wanted to be a drummer. You know, I was one of those kids that I was always being told to, you know, quit playing drums with your pencil. Stop
Right.
fiddling with stuff. Put this down. You'll break things. And
Tapping on your desk.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there was not going to be any of that in an apartment complex.
Yeah.
No practicing drums. But I realized everybody either played guitar or drums
Mm-hmm.
or piano. I was
Right.
done with piano. No one played bass.
Yeah.
Everybody was always looking for bass players. So I just thought, well, maybe this is the thing.
Yeah.
And I could practice it quietly. And turns out bands are often looking for bass players. Unfortunately, Tom Crosby was the bass player in our friend's band.
Okay.
But he broke his finger.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and you had nothing to do with that.
I didn't break his finger.
Okay.
But I did play. I can't remember if I played his bass that first gig. It was at the Village Green Fair or something.
Oh yeah, yeah, the fundraiser that happens every year at Collegiate.
That's right. And so that was my first gig. Really, was taking Tom Crosby's place.
Okay, and so you were in a couple bands. I remember you were in You guys called yourselves Midnight Jam and also Broken Cherry.
Cherry, yeah.
Which would go over great today.
Really. It went over great back then, especially when we played, you know, someone's party and the parent wrote us out the check.
All right.
Who do I make this out to? Broken Cherry. I tell you what, let me just make it out to you.
So did you have an LLC or something? Did you have like an
didn't. No, I was in
You had a bank account.
Say, have you noticed something as a comedy guy that
What's
whenever you're around people who aren't in that business, they want to try out their best material on you?
Yes, absolutely. Very out there, like personal, scatological, sexual things that are, you know, that cracked them up along the way, and you just kind of politely laugh and run.
It was so funny. I noticed myself doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed myself doing it with you.
Yeah.
But it really came to the forefront, not with comedy, but with storytelling when I was making the first Hard Working Americans record, which was Todd Snyder, a very gifted and unique songwriter, a teller of tall tales. A lot of times in his concerts, the story behind the song is longer than the song's performance.
Right.
And he was kind of bitching and moaning about the same thing. And he wound up just saying, "Don't tell stories at me," was what he'd say. Don't come up to me and tell me your story. Don't tell them at me.
Right.
So I'm going to try not to comedy at you.
No, you don't have to. And I'll try not to comedy at you. Let's just talk and the comedy will flow. And if you feel like picking up your bass at any point, you know, I'm sure there's one within arm's reach at all times.
You know, actually, they're all down in L.A.
Really?
All of my home bases, I took them down to Jim Scott's place for this recording session we were doing right when everything started shutting down.
Right.
Because he has a tech that could clean them all up. They needed some TLC, and I was going to use them on the session.
Right.
And the session ended, obviously, when Gavin Newsom shut down the state about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But we didn't know how long it was going to last. We had a third session lined up for starting April 19th. And so I just left them there.
Yeah.
There will be no bass playing today. I'm sorry.
So are you just playing, you just tapping your pencils on your tables then?
I'm driving my wife crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody's going a little crazy, driving their family members crazy right now. But so back to to your genesis. When did you really realize that you freaking loved playing music? And I know you went from Collegiate down to Athens to UGA, and at that point, were you like, I need to find some dudes and get a band going, or was there something else you were pursuing, and then you just still had this voice that you wanted to just go and follow the music, or what?
Well, two things. First, you asked me when did I first realize I loved playing music.
Mm-hmm.
This is a common answer. You're going to hear this from everyone from David Gilmour to Keith Richards to probably one of the guys from Vampire Weekend. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Playing some gig, maybe in the Crosby's basement, and this girl that I really liked actually spoke to me.
There you go.
And all the the bully athlete types that used to just pick on me. I remember one of them coming up to me and going, "Man, you slapped that thing pretty good. Wow." It's like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
I'm holding something that's not a football and I'm getting a compliment.
That's good. No, that's
when it started. But I went to the University of Georgia not because REM was from there or the B-52s.
Mm-hmm.
I went there for three reasons. The first one is I could get early acceptance.
Okay.
Which basically meant I could piss off for 3/4 of my senior year at collegiate.
Yep. I hope you still focused on your English class with Bob Livy, though.
I don't know how much focus is required when all you have to do is regurgitate the notes he gives you in class verbatim.
Yeah.
Boy, that's learning, ain't it?
Hey, no judgment. No jokes about him either.
Playboy magazine, which I only read for the articles when I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
did declare the University of Georgia the #1 party campus in America.
All right. Factor number 2.
Pretty cool. One thing I was good at was writing. I could write me some words, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, you still can, obviously.
So I went to journalism school. University of Georgia has a great journalism school. In fact, it was so popular when I arrived in 1983 that the weed out class weeded me out.
Oh, okay.
Because of the onset of cable TV.
Oh.
And what was the big cable station when we were in the early 80s? WTBS.
Sure.
And CNN was getting started.
Yep, headline news.
So there were a lot of people in the journalism 101s that all they really wanted to do was be on TV.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't care about writing or anything like that.
Right.
But I had left my guitar at home. I'm like, I'm going to be a serious journalism student.
Yeah.
That lasted about exactly 1 semester.
Yep. Yep. And so then you
got the guitar.
Yep. Came home, got the guitar, and then so what? You just started playing in your dorm room, and then you'd go out and hear bands. And I know that you met the first incarnation of the Widespread guys pretty early on down there, right?
Really early on. A lot of friends that I had made in my freshman year, just playing hacky sack in the quad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to look like the Batcave here. Sorry.
That's all right. I look like the vampire right now. I don't know what's up with this lighting.
The phone keeps falling over slightly.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, playing hacky sack, throwing frisbee, and one of the guys, Neil Beckton, who owns a record store up in D.C. now called Some Records,
okay,
was like, "You need to meet my friend JB. He plays guitar."
All right.
And so we went to see JB play, my friend Horace and I, and I was like, he's doing a solo thing at this place called Abbott's.
Okay.
And he sort of just played, and he'd like sing the chorus of one song and then start singing the verse to a different song. And I was like, this guy needs a band.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that, you know, I could fix him.
Yeah, yeah.
So we got a band together and realized that there was nothing to fix.
Yeah.
Because none of us knew what the fuck we were doing.
Right. So were you like most young people kind of going with the flow in many ways, but you really had this thing inside you that you, and like, is that when it really took over that I want to be a professional musician? Was that about the time that it really started driving you?
I don't know what, I mean, it was always there.
Yeah.
It was always there. I mean, the story I like to tell is I saw the Zeppelin movie, Song Remains the Same, when I was 12. Saw it at the Ridge Cinema.
Sweet.
It wasn't a midnight movie yet. It was its first run. And I went like 6 times.
Let me interject. The Ridge Cinema, you know, Kenny Benheim, your classmate, his family owned the Ridge Cinema, and they had the midnight movie that you just referred to. We went, and they would have X-rated movies. I remember being with a couple of my classmates. I think Gordon Statinius was there, and there were a bunch of girls from like your grade and my grade, and we're all watching this hardcore porn, and I just didn't know what to make of any of it. It wouldn't happen in a theater today like that.
Well, it was really easy because it was just, you get a ticket, and they tear your ticket, and then you just turn right and go see the Led Zeppelin movie, or you could turn left and go see Deep Throat.
Right. All right. So back to the Zeppelin movie. So you were like, "Holy smokes, this is amazing."
They were my favorite band. They still are. But there's Jimmy Page wearing these black silk pajamas with dragons on them.
Yeah.
and all these girls going crazy.
Yeah.
And I was 12.
Yeah. That movie scared me. When he was playing with the bow. And I thought it was just like, oh my God, this is, it was just freaky. And now, it's great.
Well, that's the thing. See, what you just mentioned there is mystery. It's like the mystery of music and performance. And this is kind of a problem I have with the social media. You'd get a Pink Floyd record. There wasn't a picture of the band on it.
Yeah.
If there was, it was super abstract.
Yeah,
so basically, you had some weird visuals and something, 12 by 12 that you could hold.
Yeah.
While you listened to 45 minutes of music.
Yeah.
And your imagination did everything.
Oh, yeah.
What do these guys look like? So for Zeppelin to make a movie where kids could go see it.
Look behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's as close as you could get, even though it had those outrageously ridiculous fantasy sequences.
Right.
But there was mystery involved. Nowadays, it's like, I don't care what these guys are eating for breakfast. I don't want to see their dirty feet propped up on the seat in their Sprinter van. I'm sorry.
There was mystery in everything. I remember the Wide World of Sports, every once in a while they'd have Evel Knievel. And it was like, holy crap, Evel Knievel's going to jump, 30 buses or whatever. And it was this big event, and it was on. You couldn't record it, and then it was gone. And then the same thing with the Globetrotters from time to time.
Yes.
They would come through town, and they had a few famous people. Curly Neal just passed away last week. Meadowlark Lemon. There was mystique. There were things that were cool. Muhammad Ali, and there was no behind the scenes with Muhammad Ali. He was just this awesome guy that would come out and speak his mind and beat everybody's ass. And now it's insane. Everything's insane.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't care what kind of deodorant you use. It doesn't improve the listening experience of your music, but that's neither here nor there. So basically, I was like, Jimmy Page gets to go to work in his pajamas and the women fall all over the place.
That's pretty good.
I want that job.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Well, you got it.
Fast forward to Widespread Panic, we just didn't want jobs at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was 1984, 85 in a town like Athens, Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 of us could live in a 3-bedroom house for like $150 each.
Yep.
The electricity might get turned off every now and then, but
Right. So, so what was the scene like? So were did the B-52s and REM, were they like playing around town? I know they had started to blow up around then and were probably touring, but
the 52s were in New York, but when I arrived at school, Ricky Wilson had just passed away from AIDS.
Oh yeah.
Literally when I was like a freshman, still living in the dorms. That was the funeral celebration. Yeah. But REM was poised on the brink of going from a secret college band that the critics loved to a not so secret national act.
Yeah.
And I saw them perform, I guess, to start or end the tour for the second record.
Okay. That'd be Reckoning?
That would be Reckoning, yes. I always get them mixed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I like REM. I do.
They played at the Legion Field. It was outdoors. There were 7,000 or 8,000 people there on campus. And Athens is such an artsy, weird town that people were talking shit about them.
Right.
They're like, our little secret is out, so they're not cool anymore. Those kind of people.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was a lot of really strange, just creative melting pot.
Right.
The art school and the music scene and the inexpensiveness of living there, and the ability to get like a job rolling burritos that would hire you back when you go off on tour for 3 weeks.
Sure.
All that stuff created this scene of nightclubs and house parties and bands that all knew each other, and it was fascinating and weird, and Reagan was president, and people thought shit couldn't get any worse. But
here we are.
Oasis. It was an oasis of creativity. It was great.
Yeah. And did you relish that, or were you like super driven at that time, or were you smelling the roses, or were you just taking it day by day?
It was day by day. I mean, we were creating our own little bubble, and once we found Todd Nance, our drummer, then we were ready to do whatever it took. And sometimes what it took was throwing all of our shit in JB's car, which had a donut tire on it for a long time, a flat tire, tire. And,
temporary tire, yeah.
Mikey had this land yacht thing that I can't remember what it was, like Galaxy 500 or something, and we'd go down to Macon, Georgia, and play at some Fern bar.
Right.
You know, we'd go up to Greenville, South Carolina, and play on some stage that had tinsel hanging from the back of it.
Right.
Play a frat party, do whatever it took, you know.
But you got to get up and do your thing and just get lost in it and create. And I'm sure you recorded them all, right? And would you play them back and were you working things out on stage, which I imagine you do, just like in a studio, like just, hey, that was really cool what you did, you know, whatever.
Yeah, what you're talking about is called a postmortem.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Every comedy thing I've ever done, you look back through and you're like, God, why did we leave that in? What were we doing?
See, you know? we would just fall about the floor laughing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'd hear something, and wherever our own individual headspaces were, you know, that sound would cue it. And I might have been going, God, I can't believe I played that clam. Everyone else is going, that sounded so hilariously fucked up.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like maybe there's sort of something that you would, if like you've ever participated in improvisational comedy as an ensemble.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, where it's like, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you spend too much time thinking about something cool or fucked up that just happened, well, then the gig is blown.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, so we really didn't do too much of that.
Right.
If so we did, it was really funny for us.
Or you probably rediscovered things a couple days later as you're playing again. Like you remembered what you did the other night, or just kind of vibed on it. And, you know, a lot of this is beyond consciousness. I mean, you get into a zone and you're riding a wave and you're, you know, exploring, and then you need to land the ship at some point. But but I imagine you'll rediscover old kind of tributaries you swirled in the other night, and then you get back in the river and, you know, create new ones along the way too. And I'm not even high right now.
Yeah. Okay. Prove it.
How can I?
I kid you.
I'm in Virginia.
No.
If I had pot in Virginia, I'd have to pay a $50 fine now.
That's a big improvement, isn't it?
I think so.
You know, the irony is I moved to California 10 years after I quit smoking weed. So
oh, really?
What difference does it make?
Oh, well. There's still sunshine and wine.
And wine, yes. It's all very good. Really, though, I mean, what you're talking about is it's how we discovered new songs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it wasn't usually us listening to recordings. By the point other people were recording the shows, they'd listen to something and they'd come to the next show or two shows down the road and go, hey, what was that thing you were doing? And John Bell, our singer, has a proclivity to ad-lib vocals.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes if we'd get into a jam and he had like he'd just start singing.
Right.
But we'd forget about it. You know,
right.
So some fan who had recorded the show, say this guy Diego Weingartner, shows up at a gig in Cornell after a gig at up on the hill at Cornell University, shows up in Ithaca 2 nights later at a club gig and goes, what was that song where JB's like talking about drinking fish water?
Right.
And we're like, I don't know. What are you talking about?
That's funny.
So he'd present us his recording of the show, and then it's like, hey, you know, that's kind of cool. Maybe we can build on that.
Yeah. You don't often think of singing improv. You always think of instrumental improv, but not coming up with new words along the way.
Especially not really melodies. I mean, I guess rap music, those rap battles, that's kind of improv, but
yes,
we're not known for our rapping capability.
Right.
But JB does. He unleashes a lot of stream of consciousness in his own way. He likes to paint words with pictures. So, you know, really, I guess if we want to get back to like creative spirit, it's it's just allowing ourselves to be, which was really easy because, like I said earlier, none of us knew what the fuck we were doing.
Right.
But as individuals. But something happened when we got together and started making music together that was kind of like, hey, this is sort of different.
Right.
And so rather than learn how to play book learning wise as individuals and then apply that to a group, we learned how to play with each other as a group.
Right.
And I think a sound happened that was unique because of that. I think the same thing might have happened with bands like REM or U2.
Sure.
Where it's like they just were sort of the sum total of their influences
Yeah.
until they got together.
Yeah.
And then they created a whole nother soup.
You shake that cocktail up and there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, those are two of my all-time favorites too. Seen U2 every tour since '85 or something. My brother took me down to Hampton. What a great venue Hampton is.
Oh my God.
I'm sure you were at the Warlocks shows in '89.
I missed it.
Oh, you did?
I missed it because of Panic being on tour.
Okay.
By one day I missed it.
Damn. Yeah. Well, I wish I'd missed it because I had one of the worst nights of my life at one of those shows.
Explain.
Well, I promised my then girlfriend that I wouldn't partake in something, and I went ahead and did it. And then I immediately confessed to her that I had eaten something that my friend had, and I felt like a complete worthless, druggy, dropout, trash, lost soul. And then we broke up a couple days later, and I got back in the saddle and had a good time.
Oof, that's a shame. I mean, that's kind of why I like to say that my key is strip that lock.
Uh-huh.
Just too much guilt of responsibility.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like I could, when I was in high school, or like, how about the glorious summer between high school and college?
Oh, yeah.
Is there not a better time for a psychedelic journey than that?
You know what? I had not been on one until my sophomore year. Okay, so if we're talking for real here, my sophomore year in college, we discovered some things that were growing in the meadow. And and so we had just gotten back from Christmas break, and 6 of my buddies and I all ate these things and went walking around and had the best day. The best freaking day ever, totally bonded. And we got back to my room, and my roommate had an Oscar, one of those fish that eat other fish.
Oh, yeah.
And right before Christmas, he needed to feed the fish for 2 weeks, the 2 weeks that were gone. So he just dumped 20 goldfish in there. And so before we actually left for Christmas, like within an hour, the thing had eaten like 17 of them. And so when we got back, there was the Oscar just gasping for life and one goldfish swimming around it. And we had Pink Floyd on, and 2 lost souls swimming in a fishbowl came into our consciousness, and I just started crying. I was just crying at the irony of the prey swimming around the predator and whatever. And I looked around, and all 6 of us were crying. And so we just started laughing so hard, and it was a great time. So, there we go.
We'll see, there's the fine line between laughter and sadness.
Correct. Yeah,
you know?
We all realized we were going for some kind of a ride, and we were all there for each other, so it was beautiful.
Yeah, there's this old graveyard in Athens. It's out behind the football stadium. It's got graves that go all the way back to like the 1700s, featuring names of people, you know, that streets and counties are named after. It's that old.
Yeah, it's like Hollywood Cemetery here in Richmond.
Yeah, and it's a classic place to have a psychedelic experience. Because it goes on forever. It's peaceful. If the moon is full, everything's silvery. And if it's a Friday night and there's a game the next day, they got the stadium lit up like a Christmas tree because they're cleaning it.
Okay.
And so there's a weird ambience. And we're walking around just having the greatest time, laughing. You know, everybody's having a great trip. And all of a sudden, the laughter kind of stops. And we're like, what's so funny? What happened? And one of the guys is standing down looking at these tiny little gravestones. And he's like, well, these things that we thought they were so funny, guys, these are babies' graves.
Oh, shit.
And we were just like, it went dark fast.
Bye-bye.
But then someone had an idea. It's like, hey, maybe the stadium's open.
Right.
And so we ran out of the graveyard, and guess what? The stadium was open.
Oh, nice.
UGA Stadium,
Yeah,
like
but
3 in the morning.
run around between the hedges
on Saturday is open because people are cleaning it.
That's great.
When it's just a change of environment can change everything.
Yep. You got to do that. You got to do that. So yeah, man. So I think you and I, we came from this school, collegiate, and that's where we met. I remember hanging out with you in your car that had the license plate Dead 2, I believe.
Yeah, someone had Dead 1.
Yeah.
It's like an internet handle.
Yeah. And so was that a 66 Mustang? What was that, 67?
That was a 69 Mustang.
Okay.
It was green with a white vinyl top and a fastback.
That thing was cool. I remember we hung out there and then went back into the party, and then two of my classmates, Daniel Wilson and John Kay, threw me in the pool at whatever party it was. So it was
that was a party out in your neighborhood now, wasn't
it? No, it was down in the Windsor Farms area.
Oh, it was in Windsor Farms.
Yes. I remember that. But
yes.
Did you go to the Stones? Did you go to the Tattoo U at Hampton?
That was in 1981?
Yeah.
No, but that was so funny. I mean, everybody, remember, these were the days before cell phones. Folks listening at home. So there was a pay phone at school, and then there was the office phone for the like lady who ran the boys' school.
Okay.
And if you were really nice to her, you could use that phone for calls. So none of us could get off campus to go score tickets for the Stones.
Mm.
Someone was monopolizing the payphone in an attempt to get tickets.
That would be you.
No. I was the one that thought about, I think, it was Grover Jones's wife, wasn't it? Didn't she?
It was.
She was really nice. And
Mrs. Jones, yeah.
The phone, and so people were trying to attempt to get Stones tickets, but someone had to have a credit card. None of us got tickets except for Bruce Miller. Bruce Miller went to the show, and then he somehow got a bootleg.
Oh,
he
cool.
Xeroxed up little cassette J cards.
Oh, nice.
Ran off copies of the Stones concert. I mean, this is like a Mike Damone moment in real life.
Yeah, you got to adopt the attitude, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, that was as close as I got. I mean, that was as close as a lot of people got to concerts in those days, was a bootleg recording.
I went to that. I went to one of the nights. I guess, I don't know if it was one or two nights, but I went. Patrick Murray and I went. Chip Joseph's uncle or somebody had tickets, and we bought them for $50 total.
Wow.
And
yeah,
that was a lot. And I remember we got down to Hampton. This was 1981, December. I had been to one concert prior to that, which was 38 Special and Jefferson Starship at King's Dominion.
Yes,
which was awesome. I still love both of those bands. And talk about some great Southern rock and roll, man. 38 Special. So I was a novice. I'd only been to that one show, and so we got to the Hampton Coliseum when we were staying, I think, at some little motel, and the gates to the parking lot were locked, and I guess they unlocked the gates at 4:00. Right. And that was the same time that they opened the doors, and I remember we were all drinking beer and just sprinted from the gate in the doors, got up on the stage. We're just like, sweet, just hanging out at like 4:15. And of course they didn't come on, George Thorogood opened and he came on at 8, and then the Stones didn't come on till like 9:30, sitting way back up, wherever, because we had to pee and get more beer. But that was a trip. There were a bunch of people from your grade there. I remember that. Scott Sutton was there, and I don't know. It was a little blurry.
It's funny. I looked away for a minute because I have a stack of ticket stubs here.
Oh, sweet.
And I'm trying to find one because you said you paid $50 for how many? 4 Stones
for 2 tickets. Patrick Murray and I.
$25. I'm trying to find. I think I've got. Well, here's one.
Hi, Louis Raffino. Are you seeing these things at the bottom?
I am.
Okay.
I'm a jewel.
Some people are saying hello. Yes.
Is this backwards or forwards?
I'm seeing it backwards. Who is it?
That's a Grateful Dead ticket from the Capitol Center in 1982. And $12.50 is the price.
That's yeah. That's good stuff.
But me and Joey Brancoli bailed out of Bob Livy's English class.
Nice.
Because the Grateful Dead had just played at the University of Virginia the night before, and we had spent the night there wandering aimlessly around campus looking for a classmate who shall remain nameless.
Okay.
And we did eventually find him laughing at a creek because it was funny.
You know, yeah, a creek can be hilarious.
We managed to get back. I retrieved my car from Rob and Tom Crosby's house in time to get to class. And I remember sitting there in English class, first class of the day, Bob Livy's class, going, this sucks.
Yeah.
I'm going to the nurse. And I went to the nurse. And I was like, I've got a headache. I feel like I was out all night last night or something. I need to go home. So I go home, and I guess we were seniors then. It was 1982, fall of 82. So seniors.
Yeah, you were.
So Joey Brancoli was no longer at Collegiate. He was at Open High.
Okay.
And we finagled a ride up to D.C. and saw the Dead at the Capitol Center.
Sweet.
For $12.50. And
that's fantastic.
Got the very first Touch of Grey they ever played.
Oh, wow. All right.
Which is kind of daring if you think about, encore. Like, it's usually going to be the big crowd pleaser or the Kiss Goodnight or whatever.
Right.
This is why the Grateful Dead rule.
Yeah.
Here's a song we've never played before. Let's go ahead and do it for an encore.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, the Dead are pretty much, they're the gold standard. I mean, it's what can you say? Just
the benchmark of doing things your own way and reaping the reward for doing things your own way really well.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, when I was thinking about what we would talk about, that's really kind of the theme of what I feel like you and I have both been able to do, like we followed that passion, and I want, I'm hopeful that we can maybe, I don't know if inspire is the right word, but encourage people to, I do college talks from time to time, and the theme of my talk is let your inner voice guide you on a path to a place that doesn't exist till you get there. Okay. So here you are, hanging out in your pad up in NoCal with no basis for some reason, but with all the, with all this achievement behind you. And I've been fortunate, along the way as well. And I think it's because I've always, back in the day, I remember I was making a commercial parody just for the hell of it. I made this, there used to be this Dristan commercial, and it was a man on the streets of Chicago, and he was blindfolded, and his nose was so stuffy that, somebody held an orange up under his nose, and he's like, I can't smell a thing. And it's like, now he's trying new Dristan, blah, 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 and it's an orange. And so I just thought it was just so freaking stupid that when I was angry too. I did not like establishment, and I didn't like rules for rules' sake, and I didn't like knowing that ads were trying to sell me something. So I made my own version of that with my friend Bunt Young and my brother Patrick here in Richmond, where it was for Dristex BM, and it was me unable to smell my dog's shit until I used new Dristex BM, and it's Max's stool, and I was doing the sound work down at In Your Ear, and Joe Sheets, the engineer, said to me, what the difference between you and everybody else is? You actually make the shit. He's like, everybody's got their jokes, and they say, we ought to do this, but you're doing it. And so, that's not that I'm trying to blow my own horn, but I'm just saying you got to just freaking live the life if you're going to live the life. You can't
You're exactly right. I mean, one of the greatest engineers, producers I've ever worked with is this guy, Jim Scott. You can look him up. I'm not going to blow his horn because it doesn't need it. But a lot of producers will give suggestions. The band is like trying to record something. They're hung up maybe in a creative way or whatever. And his rule in the studio is you never say no.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you don't do is say no to an idea. But he doesn't feed you ideas either. He never really says, well, maybe you should try something like this. sometimes it's like, hey, it's just right there in front of you. You know, in other words, stop thinking so much about how to do it.
Stop thinking.
Just do it.
Yes.
And it's almost like a koan, you know, if you think about something like that, because I think one of the biggest stumbling blocks to creativity is getting hung up on how to create. And a lot of people can, you know, you'll see books like The Creative Workspace, you know, and how to set up your office. And, you know, really, I think you and I both know it's just a muscle. You know, the one helpful book, and I think anyone who is in a creative place and wants some help is the one, what was it, Stephen King on writing.
Oh, I don't know. What do you say?
Well, it's this really short book. It's slightly biographical, and it's a how to write. And he talks about how lucky he was that he landed the biggest paperback publishing deal in history on his first paperback, Carrie. And then it got made into a movie that defined a generation of horror movies.
Yeah, what a great one.
But basically, find a place. It doesn't have to be comfortable. It's got to be your place, and you got to type. You type for 20 minutes. You write for 20 minutes a day. You do it at the same time. And even if all you do is type out, I don't feel like typing today.
That's the same as The Artist's Way.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that was about the morning pages. I remember, and I tell people to do that all the time if they're blocked creatively. I think there's a leaf blower about to go off here. If you're blocked creatively, get up every morning and just write, you know, on a notepad, 3 pages of whatever, and put it in a file and don't look at it. Do that every day for 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, like on day 1, you're like, it's 6 a.m. Why am I awake? This coffee is good. I love coffee. I wonder how they make, you know, Harvest Coffee in Colombia. You know, like you're just writing just whatever the frick. I see a vision of a man walking down the street in the rain. So, so by, you know, the end of that 6th week, you're reading the story that you've written about the man who was walking down the street in the rain, and his backstory and his, you know, his trials and tribulations and obstacles and pride and joy and all that. And you just realize you just got to sit down and do it, which is exactly what you're saying.
That's right. I mean, that's the thing. It's like what the engineer from In Your Ear told you. I mean, Widespread Panic, we didn't have a plan. We just knew that we didn't want to have real jobs. Yeah. Even though we all did. I delivered flowers. Mikey delivered pizza.
Yeah. Well, you got to pay your bills.
Worked at a nursery.
That's a job. Those are jobs. Those aren't a career.
Right.
You know?
It's to pay the rent when there aren't enough gigs at TK Hardy's to even buy a Waffle House breakfast at 4 a.m.
Right.
We did it because we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then we got in the car and we played gigs. And then we started writing original songs. And we found a guy who would charge us enough we could afford to record it. Yeah. And we made a 45 RPM, 7-inch big hole single. We printed 500 copies of them. Yep. And the rest is history. But, you know, a lot of people can't do it. Yeah. And so I'm always I'm filled with gratitude, not only that the guys in my band put up with my uptight ass, because I was a punk kid, you know, who thought I knew how to do things. Right. Because I got 13 years of book learning at collegiate school behind me. That's right. Which I can use big words, and I learned how to critically think. I can tell you that. You know? Yeah. But it didn't mean I necessarily got along well with people. Right. You know, so maybe that's a secret too, is finding people that you get along well with to work with, because
people that you have a shorthand with, people that you don't need to explain. People just immediately know what vibe you're on, what you're talking about. You know, the essence of whatever it is you're creating or thinking. You know, you find people on your wavelength.
That's exactly right. The vibrational theory. I mean, let's talk about. I love to compare and contrast, because, you know, if there's one thing I know from my friends who work at Adult Swim, who animate and who do voice characterization, and having known you for so long and being very kindly invited to a table read for Family Guy. Yeah, man. There are a lot of parallels, I think, between a group of writers and voice actors getting together and conceptualizing a show. There's a template. It's got to be a half an hour. And a band like Widespread Panic, getting into the studio and trying to do something collaboratively.
Absolutely.
You know, everybody's got strengths. Some people are better at some things than others, and generally the group, the sort of hive mind, knows that.
Yeah.
And then there's like a leader.
Yeah.
You know, there has to be a leader. And in the studio, we like to default to the producer. John Keene's always been our producer.
Mm-hmm.
We've worked with others, but he handles us better than anyone else.
Right.
You know, and so I think that is a remarkable achievement, to be able to work with a group.
Yeah. And to be able to get to that place where you commit to that. And I think that's where it comes down to being true to who you are. And, you know, there's no alternative, you know, like there might be guys that come and go along the way, but there's no alternative. You know, we're doing this, you know, I'm not going to go to law school, you know, like I'm doing this. And I took that leap at 24. I had a little, an advertising, not a little job, but a little career in advertising for about a year here. And I so much more enjoyed making prank calls to my boss than the work we were doing. And, you know, when I saw David Lynch's Wild at Heart, which was such a great, weird, hilarious, cool movie, I literally thought to myself, you know, I haven't had much exposure, you know, outside of collegiate school and Washington and Lee and my circle of friends, but I know there's so much more out there. I built sort of a really good foundation for myself within this subculture. And I just said, I got to go do this. If this guy can make this weird thing and be, you know, so successful with it, then I'll find my weird thing. And
That's
so
right.
I went from wearing pink shirts and yellow ties and driving a new Jetta to LA, waiting tables and working at the Gap, you know, a month later, and just being terrified when I literally being one of a million people trying to do the same thing, and I had no experience whatsoever. So, but it was that drive. It was like, there's nothing else I'm going to do. I found a comedy class. I started doing stand-up. I met a few people, and, you know, you just find your way every day.
That's right. Did you encounter a whole lot of naysayers? If you ever,
yeah,
right?
I had a crown put in by my dentist about a month ago, and he goes, I said, how long have I been coming here? He's like, yeah, it was right before you moved to California. He's like, I remember when you came in here. Rob Cox, my dentist, said, yeah, he's going out. You know, it's good. At least he's going to go out there and try it. You know, and he'll you know, when he comes back, he'll at least have tried it. And that's what he told me last month. And yes. And he was nice about it. And there were plenty of people who were dicks.
Oh, and so many dicks. But there's a lot of mythology in rock and roll. Like, you'll hear a lot of people will say, oh, you know, well, I met B.B. King or Taj Mahal or, you know, or Johnny Cash and, you know, elder statesmen,
mm-hmm.
masters of their craft. And I said, Mr. Cash or Mr. King or Mr. Ralph Stan, whoever, you know, okay.
I don't know what's going on. I don't have to answer it though.
They said, you know, do you have any advice for someone who's just getting started? You know, and inevitably in these mythological stories, the response is, give up now, kid.
Yeah.
You know, and I never got that. I always thought it was sort of cruel and mean, you know, and when people would ask me that long before I felt like I was elder, let alone a statesman,
mm-hmm.
I'd be like, never sell your publishing. Get a good lawyer, you know, find people you can play with.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, and I don't know if it coincided with when I started getting AARP materials
mm-hmm.
mailed to me by my name.
Yeah.
Or if it just happened after, like, you know, enough years on the road. But I understand why they say give up now.
Sure.
You know, and it's like, you're going to hear that a lot. You're going to hear that, you know, you're going to get pink slips if you're an author. You're going to get rejections. You know, you're going to get booed off stage.
Right.
You know, people aren't going to buy your record. But you didn't quit. At
least fail at what you really want to do.
Yeah.
Like nothing would be more depressing than being on like some bullshit career and getting fired and then having to look for another job in that field.
Exactly. I've failed at selling vacuum cleaners door to door. Now I'm selling encyclopedias.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, I mean, but the whole thing is like,
that's why a lot of people don't try, by the way. They don't want to deal with that fundamental rejection of bearing their soul and being dinged.
that's right. It's, you know, you trip, you stumble, you get covered in mud, and you either pick yourself up and laugh,
Mm-hmm.
or laugh along with the people who are laughing at you, because god dang, it's kind of funny if you think about it.
Yeah.
And you keep doing it.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're
Go
gonna
home and
frickin'
cry.
die. We're gonna die one day. Hopefully not for a long time. But what are you gonna, you know?
That's right.
What are you gonna do?
That's right.
Yeah, somebody has just put up, use it as gas for the fire. And I'm sorry I missed your name, but that's so true. Just those failures inspire you so bad, you know, so much, and those assholes along the way who just laugh at you when you're trying to do something cool. You know, now I know a lot of these people cannot, you know, they're stuck still doing the same shit.
Yeah, they're stuck still doing the same shit, and a lot of times they call me and ask me if I can hook their kids up with tickets to the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, gladly.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, man, you got to let go of whatever. Today's today. And speaking of living now, I don't know if you meditate or do anything like that. But you know, the big journey is day by day, minute by minute. You know, I heard a guy speak. He was in the platoon or the group of people that killed Osama bin Laden, and he was talking about his Navy SEAL training.
Wow.
And they had to do all kinds of crazy stuff, like ridiculous things. But part of it was going up a cliff, and they had to, with no rope, no nothing, climb this frickin', I don't know how high the cliff was, but he talked about his 3-foot radius. And that is today. That's your 3-foot radius. It's today. What can I do? Where can I grab? Where can I put my toe? You know, moving on up. So, you know, it's really day by day. I just remember so many times just having crappy days along the way, you know, being broke with bills coming due, and then people I thought were cool not being cool. And, you know, but you just take a deep breath and you do what you can and you keep going. And
that's right. That's good stuff for where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's a 6-foot radius.
Yeah.
But you know, it's right. What he's talking about is what you yourself can control.
Yep.
Everything else is out of your control. You know, you have a 3-foot radius, and you can climb the cliff, and there's a root, there's a crevice. Pretty much anything else, if something falls on you, you can't control it. You can only, what is the Marine saying? Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Some shit.
Is there someone out there who's a Marine that knows this saying? I'm going to watch the bottom here.
I don't. But yeah, but that makes sense. I think that applies to life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can't control it. You know, we can only control what we do, and
adapt and overcome. Adapt and overcome is what I'm seeing here.
Okay, yeah, I saw that. Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Yeah.
They want us to talk more about self-isolating. Well, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and we'll have to wrap up here in a couple of minutes, because I think this thing's going to cut us off.
That's right. We have an hour.
But
there it is. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, that's life. So it's you know, I feel very lucky to be not living hand to mouth at this point, which I did for a long time. And I'm enjoying the time with my family, and I'm enjoying having to get really creative, or I'm just sort of becoming more creative right now. It's almost like having no money to make a movie. You have to be extremely resourceful and inventive. So if you can't really leave the house except to walk the dog or get some groceries, then you know, I've just enjoyed, I went to my storage unit and got some wigs that I had for a film shoot, and I've just been totally screwing around. And, you know, whether it's funny or not, I'm just throwing it out there, and that's all I can do. But it's really sort of invigorating. It's getting back to this point of having nothing and just having to do something with it. So,
I mean, maybe this is the genesis of real creativity. You know,
maybe.
I've seen a lot of people, you know, a lot of people are looking for something good to come out of this crisis we're in right now.
I think it will.
I think so too, because our lives have become so busy and so cluttered with input.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'd get claustrophobic with input.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow I was also addicted to it. I knew I needed to get away, but I was addicted. And so I'd always say, gosh, if I can't wait to have 2 weeks at home.
Yeah.
But I'd have 2 weeks at home and I'd never do anything real with it.
Yeah.
I couldn't chill out. I was always planning the next thing.
That's the thing, man. It's always planning. It's always planning.
The wheels ain't rolling right now,
Yeah.
For the first time since we were living hand to mouth, I think is a place we slow enough.
I think you're on to something. You can't plan anything right now. You can't
plan it.
You certainly can't plan a tour. You can't plan a vacation. You can't plan, I fly out to California a lot for work. I can't plan any of it. So
None of it.
It's a huge relief in many ways to just be.
And from just being, I think, is a great place to create.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slow
True
down. Don't, you're not missing anything. Everybody is in the same spot.
Yeah.
There's no fear of missing out.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And, we're trying to reach out and help folks where we can that we know need it, people that we know or people that hit us up. And that's kind of all you can do. I mean, feel very, very fortunate. And, it is what it is. What a time. Who would have ever thought this would be going down?
Not me. But I'm glad that we get the chance to talk from 3,000 miles apart,
Yeah, man. I don't know.
Technology is helping us here.
When's the last time we hung out? I think it was probably at the 2015 Collegiate Reunion.
That's
the
right.
100-year party.
I was the beleaguered music director.
Yeah, you brought me in on that. And Bruce Hornsby bailed after 2 songs because no one would shut the hell up.
Classic cougar behavior.
It was not meant to be. It was like a 500-person cocktail party, and he wanted everyone to be quiet and listen. And
well, if he'd have played what they wanted to hear, they would have sung along. But he was like playing variations on the Gould, Bach variations. It was amazing music, but not for a 10 o'clock cocktail party.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him, and he said, "I hope you'll forgive me, but I'm going home." And I'm like, awesome, I get it.
I ran into him at an airport last year, and let's just say he still has bad feelings about that night.
He's never going to forgive me because I begged him to do it.
Yeah. He said, I was doing Dave Schools a paid favor. No one would shut the fuck up. And it was funny. Funny.
There is a meme going around of Homer Simpson praying.
Okay.
And it says, maybe when all this is over, people will stop talking. Or no, dear rock gods, when this is over, we promise if there's ever concerts again, we'll stop talking during them.
There you go. Dave, we should wrap it up. I think we're going to get cut off. Thank you so much. Let's do this again. I mean, we got time. Let's do it. Fire it up again sometime real soon.
Maybe we'll get some feedback from all these people, and they'll let us know if we should.
Yeah, I'm going to go look back through this and see who's actually on here and reach out to some folks. So thanks, everybody, for listening. And rock on, Dave. Great talking with you, buddy.
Hey, let's do something together real soon.
I'd love to. All right.
Everybody stay safe. Bye.
Yes. Peace.